If everyone could please take their seats, put your cell phones on silent or vibrate, please. We're about to start. Good morning, and welcome to Mayor Vincent C. Gray's biweekly City Hall press briefing. Today, we are at the Office of Unified Communications, as you know, or OUC, instead of City Hall, the John A. Wilson Building, because of an exciting announcement the mayor will make shortly. In case you're wondering why the flags are flying at half-staff at district office buildings and around the city, it's because President Obama has proclaimed December 7th as National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. The president urged federal agencies and all other entities to fly flags at half-staff today in honor of Americans who died at Pearl Harbor in the attack on our armed forces on December 7th, 1941. Therefore, district agencies have followed suit, and the mayor joins the president in encouraging all Americans to remember our military past and present. Moving on to the first event included in press packets that you have received. The first item involves the Capitol Showdown, a boxing event that will be staged at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center on Saturday and air on HBO. It's the first HBO fight in the district in almost 20 years. Mayor Gray, Council Chairman Kwame Brown, and representatives of Events DC, HBO, and Golden Boy boxing promoters will be at a press conference this afternoon at 1 p.m. at the Wilson Building, and we invite you to come. The boxers, three of the boxers who are hometown boxers will be there. Lamont Peterson, Anthony Peterson, both who grew up in D.C., and from Brandywine, Maryland, Seth Mayhem Mitchell. They'll be there today at the press conference at 1 o'clock, and they'll be fighting on Saturday. In addition, Bernard Hopkins also will be at the press conference today, so we invite all to come out. Also want to mention that Events DC, along with Destination DC, is involved in the planning of the Army-Navy game taking place at FedEx Field this weekend, and the mayor will bring greetings to more than 2,000 people at the Army-Navy Gala at the Convention Center on Friday night. Next, alerting you that tomorrow, Thursday, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the DC Office on Aging will hold its 14th annual Mayor's Senior Holiday Celebration. That'll be at the DC Armory, and all the seniors look forward to that event, and the mayor is also looking forward to it. So we invite the press to cover that. One other event the mayor will be at tomorrow, we invite you to, will be the Office on Human Rights, and the DC Commission on Human Rights will observe Human Rights Day. That's from 5 to 8 p.m. at 20 F Street Conference Center in Northwest. It's being held in conjunction with the anniversary of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Any members of the public who wish to attend should go to the website of the Office of Human Rights on dc.gov to find out information, or call 311 to ask for the Office of Human Rights. And finally, the mayor wants all to congratulate Shorma Bianca Baylor. She was just named as a White House Champion of Change. Ms. Bailey is a senior at Howard University, majoring in chemical engineering, and is being recognized for her work with girls and women in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM. The Champions of Change is a program the White House created to recognize community activists, educators, entrepreneurs who are doing things in their communities. And Shorma Bailey volunteers with Girls Incorporated at Howard University and teaches engineering, an engineering program for middle school girls there. The White House says she is uplifting and influencing young African-American females and males in STEM education. And so we congratulate Shorma Bailey, a White House Champion of Change. All of the information I've just talked about is in the press folder, so please take a look, and we invite you to attend all the events that the mayor will be attending. Now I am pleased to welcome Mayor Vincent C. Gray.
Good morning, and welcome to the Communications Center. For those of you who haven't seen this, make sure you take the opportunity to go through this. before you leave. There will be an opportunity, of course, beyond just what we do here in this room this morning to see additional parts of the center. But it is really, to use an overworked term, it is really state of the art. And we've been here, we were here during the hurricane, we were here during the earthquake, and people assemble here whenever there's an issue that has to be addressed on an emergency basis across the city, and the technology here, I think, is second to none. In any event, I'm excited to be here today, along with our Chief Technology Officer, Rob Mancini, who you will hear from shortly, and our DCNet Director, Tigini Baharu, to announce that the District of Columbia government now owns and operates the highest speed and most extensive citywide fiber network in the world. That sounds like hyperbole, doesn't it? Not just in the region, not just on the East Coast, not just on the West Coast, East-West Coast combined, but in the world, and you will hear why shortly from Rob, why that is the case. We are now live with a 100 gigabit per second service, only 6 months after the District of Columbia broke ground on the Community Access Network project. And some of you will recall that a few months ago we were in Berry Farm when we started this process. It has moved along quite rapidly and has led us to where we are today. Again, this milestone makes the district the first municipality in the nation to build a network that transports the internet at speeds 10 times faster than typical service provider networks today. Today, we are lighting up the first segment of a much broader and wider network that by 2013 will link the entire city. And this announcement is just the beginning. DC Community Access Network has a capacity that surpasses that of other municipal networks in the nation, including those in California's Silicon Valley, Boston, and other major tech hubs. In fact, this network puts the district on the map as we strive to become a leading tech hub. And I think that's one of the most important aspect of this. This isn't just about making sure that east of the river has technology capacity. This is about building the capacity of the entire city, especially relative to other jurisdictions around the country. Technology innovators like New Brand Analytics, Hello Wallet, and Living Social now have access to an affordable business solution that will allow their companies to meet growing client needs faster, cheaper, and more efficiently. This launch is truly a historic event because it marks the beginning of new economic opportunities for residents and businesses in the District of Columbia. And some of you know we are looking at St. Elizabeth, especially the east side, which is owned and controlled by the District of Columbia, as an opportunity to develop our technology capacity here in the city to help fledgling companies be able to develop their capacity and to be able, right, Victor, to have a place for folks to develop those skills and keep the business, a growing business right here in the District of Columbia as we expand our own economy. This 100 gigabit state-of-the-art network positions the district to deliver affordable broadband services at ultra-high capacity bandwidth at local and federal government, to local and federal government entities, as well as private sector providers well into the 21st century. By providing low-cost, middle-mile services, which you'll hear more about with this advanced capacity, the district is investing in job-creating infrastructure upgrades that will have positive consequences not only for economic growth and job creation in the future, but also for underserved communities now. And this connects also with what you've heard us talk about a number of times, and that is continuously developing our own STEM capacity, science, technology, engineering, and math in our schools. H.D. Woodson, which just opened in August, is a STEM school and has capacity well beyond what we had in the city previously. And we now have, for the first time in the city as of a couple of months ago, a STEM campus. Langley on T Street Northeast is a pre-K through 8 school. It is now a STEM school. Next door, within a matter of feet, is McKinley Tech High School, 9 through 12. So we now have a pre-K through 12 campus that is focused on STEM. Directly in line with my administration's high-tech initiatives, DC CAN is paving the way for future economic development. For example, as companies consider moving into Ward 8, especially in the light of the work that we're doing to develop capacity here at what we used to be was the entire St. Elizabeth's campus, and of course we're down to just the one hospital at this stage. The DC Community Access Network is creating business opportunities now for the last mile providers interested in bringing broadband services into parts of the city where they haven't existed before. This ultra high-speed link enables last mile providers to take immediate advantage of low-cost middle mile services over the DC Community Access Network, and as well to bring affordable broadband services to residents and businesses in this neighborhood now. DC CAN will help pave the way for greater broadband adoption as well as economic growth in Wards 7 and 8, as well as across our entire city, which is another way of saying we're bringing services to people who have historically been sort of left behind in terms of technology, but also bringing jobs to this area of the city, not only for the people who live here, but for people who are involved in these kinds of endeavors and are looking to be able to expand their businesses or otherwise get involved in the technology arena. The DC Community Access Network is already bringing affordable services to the nonprofit community in the city, including charter schools, health clinics, early childhood learning centers, and others in Ward 7 and 8. Victoria Roberts, who is the Deputy Director of Community of Hope, will come up a little bit later to talk about the experience that they have had with this multifaceted network. They're going to be building, some of you may know, they're going to be building a health clinic here as well. That will be on South Capitol Street, right here in Ward 8. That will be providing primary care, the new, what now is the W Street Clinic, that will be on Galen Street in just about 2 or 3 months when it opens. And of course, soon these services will be available all across the entire District of Columbia. We have a number of people here today who are waiting to share some details about this exciting announcement, so I'm not going to take up much more time. I do want to thank the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, NTIA, and Director Tony Wilhelm for being here today as well. NTIA has played a huge role in this announcement today because they awarded us a $17.5 million grant to be able to develop broadband initiatives through our DC Community Access Network. I also want to thank again Rob Mancini for leading this effort, and Tigini, who we talked about earlier, Baharu, who is the moving force behind a lot of this, and the team that he has assembled to help develop DC Community Access Network, as well as laying the fiber infrastructure to build this phenomenal network that we now have. So with that having been said, let me invite Rob Mancini up to the podium and ask him to talk a little bit more about the broadband milestone. And he's going to bring up some others, and then we'll take some questions in the aftermath. Rob?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
See you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today we mark the completion of the first link in the citywide 100 gigabit per second DC Community Access Network, or DC CAN, along with a milestone of 25 active community anchor institutions just 8 months after breaking ground in March of this year. This first link connects the Unified Communications Center on Martin Luther King Avenue, where we are today, in Ward 8, with the new Department of Employment Services headquarters on Minnesota Avenue in Ward 7. We can now welcome last mile service providers, telecom entities, service providers, to immediately take advantage of the low-cost middle-mile infrastructure and services over DC CAN to bring affordable broadband services to residents and businesses in this underserved area of the city. As one of the first 100 gigabit networks in the United States, the DC CAN is a unique example of a sound investment of federal grant funds in an innovative solution to foster broadband adoption, economic development, and education. This is where technology intersects with the potential to make a difference. This is one of those memorable moments and examples of what can happen when a federal government, our mayor, and our colleagues at the DC Council, and we as his technology team collectively get it and go out there and get something done. So what do we get? And how do we benefit? We enjoy a network infrastructure that is not a barrier to progress, but rather an enabler of it. Speed for speed's sake is not the idea here, but rather the following: a partnership between the federal government, our city government, our residents and visitors, and the business community. A partnership that yields better, faster, more expansive industry products for consumers, and also hastens the next generation of government services to the communities that we serve. Technology, more rapidly applied to public safety services, economic development, health services, transportation and education, and in the end, a more vibrant and inclusive city where the potential and the possible have equal footing. We know that areas in which broadband adoption is high, this is an indicator of a thriving community. By expanding and enabling broadband services to take better hold in wards 7 and 8, this is what we attempt to deliver: transformation and economic benefits, and all the other opportunities you find in the other parts of the city. Our DC CAN infrastructure plays the key role in supporting our efforts to close the digital divide. Combined with DC CAN, we have 2 other projects, actually 3 underway, that are sponsored by our federal partners at the NTIA. By assisting in education and sustainable broadband adoption and mapping these results through our GIS team, we will continue our march toward broadband adoption in one city. All of it made possible by federal grants awarded from Mr. Wilhelm and his colleagues at the NTIA. So thank you, Mr. Wilhelm, again, and to you, Mayor Gray, and your deputy mayors, who regularly demonstrate support, commitment, and encouragement for these efforts. Thank you all for giving us the chance to deliver on the belief that you steadfastly held for this undertaking. And thank you to the folks at Sienna, who have been such great partners with us. And finally, to our DCNet engineers and managers for their tireless efforts to make it happen. So if I may close by borrowing from another well-known closing statement. This is one small step for Octo DCNet and one giant leap for the DC government in Washington, DC. Today we light, excuse me?
Thank you, Neil Armstrong.
Yes. Today we light a one city flame that will burn brightly for a pioneering mayor and his grateful city. Mr. Tony Wilhelm.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know if that makes me Buzz Aldrin or not sure who the other folks were, but good morning. And thank you, Rob and Mayor Gray, for inviting me here this morning to talk to you. One of the priorities of the Obama administration is expanding affordable access to high-speed internet or broadband in America. This is a key element of the president's strategy to build the innovation economy of the future, one that supports new and better jobs and enhances America's global competitiveness. Broadband is absolutely critical to addressing many of America's most pressing challenges, such as improving healthcare, education, and public safety. So we can see that today in this dispatch hub, how broadband is going to improve services to make our communities safer. The Recovery Act provided funding for NTIA to invest in projects that will expand broadband access and adoption in communities at risk of being left behind in the 21st century economy. As many as 100 million Americans remain without broadband, according to our recent Digital Nation report. And communities that don't have the 21st century infrastructure and a well-educated workforce will not lead the internet-based economy of the 21st century. That is why President Obama wants to continue to invest in broadband and education so we can win, as he said yesterday in Kansas, not the race to the bottom, but the race to the top. I'm pleased to say that after a very competitive grant process, NTIA last year awarded more than $27 million in Recovery Act dollars to the district to improve broadband and, more importantly, improve the quality of life for residents here in the district. And, as the mayor said, we're creating jobs and opportunity. So what began as an idea probably a year ago as a twinkle in someone's eye is now paying off for the people in this community. Let me tell you how specifically the communities here will benefit from these investments. First, we're funding the deployment and upgrade of high-speed broadband infrastructure in DC, including 173 new miles of fiber. I'm pleased that 36 miles have already been built. We're providing direct broadband internet connections to approximately 220 community institutions, such as schools, libraries, community colleges, healthcare facilities, and public safety facilities, which will enable them to better serve DC residents. 24 have already been connected and 18 upgraded, which is terrific. Broadband to schools will bring high-speed internet to teachers and students so they can make learning more effective and more engaging. So young people can hopefully be more likely to not only attend college, but graduate from college. Again, the president's goal is to have America be the first, the top country in the world in terms of college graduation rates. We're sinking now relative to the rest of the world, and we need to retain our leadership in that area. We want to reduce computer wait time at public libraries as well by adding more than 1,000 new computer workstations. I know as I've visited places across the country, many Americans continue to sign up and have to wait to get access to technology. And so by adding more workstations, we're increasing people who don't have broadband yet in their home the ability to get access in libraries and other public facilities so they can search for a job and find educational opportunities and look for information relevant to their lives. We are enabling public libraries to serve more than 50,000 more computer users per week, as I mentioned, training nearly 15,000 residents in digital literacy skills. So we can close the skills gap. As you know, we have millions of Americans who are unemployed, but there are jobs out there available. We just have a skills mismatch in part that we need to close by providing greater educational opportunities to our citizens. We can see the benefits of the Recovery Act in action today here at DC's Unified Communications Center. This network will enable the district to provide top-notch public safety and emergency response services. As the mayor said, this is already a state-of-the-art facility. We're going to even raise the bar on that as well, hopefully in the future, because of broadband, providing even more services here and improving the lives of citizens here in the district. We have Teddy Cavalieri, head of the Office of Unified Communications. We want to thank him for his leadership here. And again, congratulate the entire team for a job well done. Terrific. It's so pleasing to see that this link has been established. We look forward to the day when this project will be completed and the district will be so much better off and improved in terms of opportunities here. It is worth mentioning that the district was only one of 2 jurisdictions across the entire country. We made 230 awards. 4 of those went to the District of Columbia. So you should be very proud that you received more awards than any other jurisdiction, any state, more than California. And that's a testament just to the creative, innovative ideas here in the district, a comprehensive solution to addressing the digital divide, and obviously great need here that we need to overcome and close this digital divide. So congratulations and thank you all very much for the opportunity to be here with you today.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right. It is an honor to stand here with Mayor Gray, CTO Mancini, Director Wilhelm of the NTIA, along our partners from Siena, and representatives of community anchors who have already begun receiving DC-CAN services. I'll start with a very brief overview of the DC Community Access or DCCAN. The project has two objectives. One, it's to offer affordable, value-added broadband services to over 250 healthcare, educational, public safety, and other community anchor institutions, primarily in broadband underserved areas of the district. Two, it's to create an ultra-high-speed superhighway infrastructure for last-mile service providers to deliver affordable broadband access to residents and businesses in underserved areas. Today, we mark the completion of the first segment of that superhighway. DCCAN has met this milestone using one of the most advanced optical platforms, the Sienna 6500 Packet Optical Transport Solution. Sienna has been a reliable partner throughout the development process, and their proximity to the district has enhanced our close technical exchange. We also want to recognize the community anchor institutions that have signed up for DCCAN services. Each site is 1 gigabits per second capable, at least 100 times faster than the average household speeds, and receives fully redundant, fiber-based internet services at affordable prices. Community-based nonprofits are already seeing the benefits from DCCAN, allowing them to redirect money spent on telecommunications to other things like fulfilling their mission of service in the community. Anchors provide a diverse range of services. To give you just a snapshot, these include health clinics, DC Primary Care Association, Community of Hope, Bread for the City, So Others Might Eat, and Whitman Walker Health. Public charter schools, E.L. Haynes, William E. Dorr, and Center City. Public housing sites. Educational enrichment programs such as joint educational facilities. Matthew Memorial and Bright Beginnings Child Development Centers. In addition to new nonprofits, we have upgraded DC government fire and EMS, MPD, and public libraries to support at least 1 gigabits per second connectivity in keeping with the FCC broadband plan goals. DCCAN is on track for the scheduled completion date of June of 2013. Our crews have already placed over 36 miles of underground and aerial fiber, primarily in wards 7 and 8, and are poised to complete the 173-mile network. Like the community anchor institutions we serve, we at DCCAN are on a mission. That mission is to bring affordable broadband to those in the District of Columbia who need it most. In this effort, we're looking to partner and collaborate with last mile providers, anchors, and other interested parties. This is a historical undertaking, one that will transform communities and provide great economic benefits to the entire city. I'd like to introduce CTO from Sienna Systems, Mr. Stephen Alexander.
So thank you very much. I want to leave you really with three thoughts, if you will. The first one I'd like to tee up for you is unique. Right? You heard earlier, first network built like this. Sienna has the privilege of building networks all over the world. You know, if you think, what does Sienna do? We're the company that builds the equipment that lights the fiber, that creates the circulatory system that builds up the internet. And you're unique not only because you're first to do this, right? This is the first real collaboration that we've seen like this, but because of the speed at which this was accomplished. And I would offer up, I think it's a tribute to the government, to the mayor, to the technology team he's assembled, to have the vision to go after this the way it was accomplished. If you think about what the internet means for people, and this really turns into kind of the second point. So point number one, unique. Point number two, it's a foundation. It's a foundation, it's an infrastructure. If you think in the past, the way people looked at where would we locate industries, where would things move to? Well, roads, water, electricity. Well, in an information-based society, an information-based economy, access to information, high-capacity information, reliable information, that's just as critical, right? You want a workforce that's educated. You want a workforce that's healthy. More and more of that depends on having high-capacity connections. That's what the internet exists for. You know, it's why we can call it the World Wide Web. You've seen the tremendous democratizing force of communication. And we as a society, we are the killer application, right? We like to talk and entertain and communicate, and that's all facilitated by these high-capacity networks. So unique, it's a foundation for things to come. And the third thing I'd like to leave you with, I think, is it's actually already starting to make a difference. I had the opportunity in the last couple of months to spend some time in Australia with one of our customers, and there was a presentation at one of their conferences. The woman speaking talked about the 50 applications for life in the next decade or so. And she basically created an individual, right, and said, okay, from birth to cradle to grave, what's going to happen in terms of internet applications? And it was a fascinating presentation because it spoke to how one gets educated, how healthcare is delivered, how one just socializes all that they know and all that they learn. And with that, I do want to introduce our final speaker, Victoria Roberts. I would say this is an example of how the network is already making a difference. She's from the Community of Hope. Thank you much.
Good morning. I'm essentially here to say thank you for all of your hard work on behalf of the Community Anchor Networks, and additionally to put a little bit more of a face on what it is that this network has accomplished in these communities, particularly some of the underserved communities. Community of Hope provides healthcare, housing, and education to families in DC, particularly homeless families and low-income and uninsured individuals. We do this through our community health centers. We've got 2 currently, one in Adams Morgan and one Family Health and Birth Center in Ward 5. You can see that dot pretty easily. Between those 2 clinics, we're going to provide 20,000 visits of primary and dental and behavioral health services to over 6,000 individuals, many of them children. We focus also on prenatal care, which, as you can imagine, is essential for better outcomes in DC. We provide the only freestanding birth center in DC, which is going to provide about 200 births at that center, which is a unique experience for low-income women to be able to have that kind of opportunity. As Mayor Gray mentioned, we're also opening in far southeast in 2013 another medical center which will provide over 40,000 primary medical care, dental and behavioral healthcare visits in a community which really needs those services. Additionally, in our housing, we serve 280 families, many of them homeless, with shelter, transitional housing, permanent housing with supportive services, and homelessness prevention. We're scattered across the city, so as you can imagine, communications are critical to our coordination of care. So we had a lot going on, and as nonprofits, we're used to making do with what we have, and we do rather well at that. But I have to tell you, the opportunity to participate in something which is the best in the world, and to combine that kind of internet service with our electronic health system, which we're using in our clinics, our patients are getting state-of-the-art medical care. And just imagine, in Ward 5, in an underserved community, what it feels like to walk into a clinic and not only have an electronic health record system in place, but one that works quickly, one that is reliable, and one that ensures that your lab results, your referrals, and your information is kept securely, and that when you walk in, the registration process is quick and easy, you can get your business done and go about your day. And that just doesn't happen all the time in these communities. So again, I really want to say thank you for the opportunity to participate. And again, this has been said many times, we're getting 7 times the bandwidth for the same price that we were paying to a commercial vendor. And not only that, but it is stable so far. I'll cross my fingers. Sounds like it's going to be. Everyone has assured us. But it is stable in communities where private vendors have not placed a high priority in ensuring that particular kind of service was stable. That was just not something that was high on their radar. So we had a lot of problems providing that service. And since we've joined the network, it has been rock solid, it has been affordable, and it is making a difference to the families we serve. So yes, I'm not necessarily the tech person, but what I can tell you to think about is the patient coming in, getting state-of-the-art care, and also the children in our shelters and in our permanent housing going into our computer labs and really having solid, speedy, safe service. It makes a difference. And so, again, thank you on behalf of the Community Anchor Networks.
All right, we'll be happy to take some questions. I want to thank Victoria. Her presentation, I think, gives a practical view of what otherwise could be an eye-glazing discussion. And I don't know how to translate this other than this is absolutely huge. When you think about it, I remember being involved in some discussions 2 or 3 years ago about how do we ensure on a regional basis quick and accurate access to information around healthcare, around patient healthcare. And this is a great example of that. And that is irrespective of where you live in the District of Columbia, the care will be there, the information will be available, is already available to those who are involved in the healthcare team. You know, we've talked a lot about the United Medical Center, for example, but what we will be able to do focusing on these kinds of efforts is expand our primary care opportunities, and primary care in substantial part is contingent upon being able to have quick access to accurate information so that patients can be treated and long before they require being in a hospital. So, you know, again, as we talk about our healthcare system, so many people focus on hospitals, but that is not really the answer. It's this kind of thing that is the answer. It's being able to have primary care, and primary care oftentimes is only as good as the information that the primary care providers can access and the speed with which they can access it. So we'll be happy to take any questions that you may have, Ms. Brazil.
Could I ask Mr. Mancini a couple of questions? Sure. Mr. Mancini, what do those red dots up there mean, represent?
Each of those they represent an institution that's making use of the DC CAN today.
Today?
Yes, ma'am.
Your colleague mentioned last mile providers. What are last mile providers, and is the goal of the network to serve DC government facilities as well as nonprofit entities? To what extent will you be serving residents, and will that be the last mile providers?
Okay. The last mile providers, when we talk about last mile, we talk about the folks who take infrastructure to the home or services to the home. That could be a telephone company, it could be an internet service provider, it could be an aggressive new company who wants to take advantage of technology and deliver health services to a home. So a basic infrastructure, a high-speed infrastructure. We are the exit ramp for industry to take services to a home. But we also do make use of this network for government purposes or for government-type entities like an anchor institution. Right.
So am I correct that right now, the only entities that can avail themselves of your services or have availed themselves of your services are nonprofit entities and some government institutions, but your goal down the road is to have last mile providers provided to DC residents?
Yes, ma'am. That's what we're really talking about today. The middle mile now is available for them to plug in, come and get a contract. We've certainly lowered the cost for high-speed connectivity for them, and they can pass that savings on to the user.
And have you entered into contracts for last mile providers yet?
We've actually spoken with several of them. Tigeni could probably tell you more about who's actually signed up, but this is the cattle call. We're ready for you folks. Come and get it.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah. Are you with the media?
Yes.
Good, okay. Identify yourself. I want to make sure.
My name's Anthony Bowles. I'm a last mile provider. I have a question in regards to the DC CAN's net. I utilize new technology, white spaces, in order to deliver to the consumers. My question to you is, will you be able to assist the last mile providers in any other way besides the cost effectiveness to the backbone?
Tigani, go ahead.
So it's a great question. If you, what we've done is we've developed, I would say, GIS maps of the Ward 8 and the Ward 7 communities, but we also have internally resources on the outside plant portion of it. So at any time you can come in, you can sign up with our folks, and then you can, we train. We've been training 1 or 2 last mile providers as to how they would enter into this type of deployment, so on and so forth. So we're able to do that.
Just curious, I'm looking at the map. It seems like it's only public charter schools, not public traditional schools, that are receiving this service right now. So I'm wondering why that is.
The public school system is already on DCNet today, right?
You know, in that regard, I want to mention too, what a lot of people don't realize is that we're actually a service provider for the federal government. We have OPM and the Veterans Administration that are already a part of our DCNet system, and I think we expect that to increase over time. I think you're going to be amazed at what the city will be able to do for the federal government, and I want to congratulate again the President and Tony because they too have the vision with us for what can happen, and it's a great positive linkage between the federal government, the President's vision for increased technology capacity, and then secondly, the ability of a local jurisdiction, i.e. the District of Columbia, to be able to meet that need. Bruce?
Question from the back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the population you're trying to reach, for the most part, they have to leave their residence or whatever to go to these places to get access to this new superhighway. Is there any thought, given how inexpensive computers are these days, of just giving these people the computers to work from home so that they don't have to incur the transportation costs or whatever? Maybe giving the computers to the students to take home so there is a computer in the residence, especially given the fact that government nationally and locally encouraging everybody to work from home where possible.
Yeah, in fact, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that because we're going to have an announcement before too long, not today, about our telecommuting program that we are launching as another facet of this. But yes, I'm going to ask Rob to speak to that. But I want to make sure that it's clear that this is not just a digital divide effort, that it's also an effort to be able to attract, especially to this part of the city, fledgling technology firms. The space that we have available, for example, on the east side of the St. Elizabeth's campus, Bruce, and this capacity will make it even more attractive for firms that may be considering not just the District of Columbia, but the region, to say, this is a place I want to be because this capacity will exist. So it isn't just the residential community that we're serving, it's also the technology community as well.
Mr. Johnson, thanks for that question. It gives me an opportunity to let folks know that this is not just a piece of infrastructure that you have to come to. Walk into any public library, any public building. We're providing those services there today. While we might not have 100 gigabit speed to those locations yet, you do have access to that, and the NTIA saw fit to give us additional grant money for education and for sustainable broadband adoption, and that means we're teaching classes. We're giving folks some hardware and temporary access to broadband for free for a 6 month to 12-month period so that they can see the value and to continue to go out and get those services after they've been exposed to that. So it's not just come to this high-speed link, we're bringing it to you. Any public institution, it's there waiting for you. Yes, sir.
Will the new online gaming or the iGaming, are they going to be able to tap into this system for the new poker and all the online gaming that's going down there?
I think I might want to leave that one to the mayor, but no.
I'm only asking that because concerns have been raised about the security of creating these online lottery systems. It's the first in the country, and a lot of people have raised questions about whether it will hurt the security of the network.
I don't think so, but I think that's the question that's drawing to an inside straight. Is it? I don't think so, is it? Yeah, okay, I don't think so. And we haven't really, frankly, we haven't even, to my knowledge, at least I haven't been involved in any discussions that would look at that facet of it. It's been really more focused on creating access for those who are caught in a digital divide, being able to build capacity across the city to make the District of Columbia a leader, which we are now on this issue, and to be able to have a catalytic effect on attracting more technology firms, especially fledgling firms here to the city, especially to this part of the city. Is anybody, Mark, we'll come back to you, Mr.
Can you
Pizzaro.
give us a timeline on when this would be citywide, and two, when you would have contracts that would offer this type of internet service to residents?
I'd like to have contracts next week. I'll take them whenever I can get them. This will be done by the end of calendar year 2013.
Citywide by.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we'd like to offer those services immediately. So all of you service providers out there, dial 1-800-DC-NET. We're ready to talk to you.
Are you in talks with Verizon, Comcast? I mean, I'm guessing these are the bigger providers.
We have a regular relationship with those folks, absolutely. Have we had detailed discussions on what they would get out of this? We've only had the beginnings of those, so now we're ready to finish it.
Comcast is offering a very inexpensive broadband service too, right?
Yes, they-
$9.95 per household.
We'd like them to use our services for that. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to follow up on Patrick's last question. Is the platform that the DC Lottery is anticipating for the iGaming proposal going to in any way use DC-Net or DC-CAN?
No.
Do you know what platform they're going to use?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Sam?
I think I pay about $30 a month for Verizon. What, you're talking about savings, what are you talking about here? And in terms of cost, and if you're selling these services cheaply, what about Verizon?
Well, it isn't just about cost savings; it's also about speed as well. This is the fastest system now that exists. Is that right?
Yeah, what they need to do. Your costs get lowered when folks like Verizon and Comcast buy infrastructure from us and pass that savings to you.
Yeah, we're not competitors.
This is the middle mile that we're operating, right?
You're talking about savings for people, I guess, that are lower income in areas like more.
Yes, the greatest lack of broadband adoption is in those areas.
They talk about clouds, digital clouds. Are you doing that? I mean, that would certainly obviously make it easier for people to access a lot of stuff.
You can consider this a cloud offering, and we do provide cloud services to the DC government. Yes, we do, but we don't provide those to consumers yet. We'd like to partner with those in industry to give them the wherewithal and the lower cost opportunity to offer those services to the consumer.
Just again to draw a link here, Sam. Some of you may remember that a couple of months ago we announced, along with Comcast, a new product that they were offering, and that is broadband access in certain communities in concert with the schools, public schools here in the city, for $9.95 a month. So that's about a third of what you are paying for the same access at this stage. Let's see, we'll go back here. Identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Jessie Pasilkin. I'm at Bread for the City, which has been able to benefit tremendously from our access to DC.
Can I ask you, we try to take the questions from the media here, so why don't we wait till the end? I'm sorry.
I was expecting to be able to get answers to some questions I had.
Well, we'll be happy to answer them afterwards. We want to focus on the media. Any other questions from the media on this? And by the way, we're going to take a tour so that you all can see the actual infrastructure developments that have taken place here in this center. It will probably add to the eye-glazing nature of this discussion, but we would like you to be able to see it. So any other media questions on this issue?
Housekeeping
Mark.
question, Mayor Gray?
Yes.
Will we be able to, as far as this bi-weekly press conference, will we be able to ask off-topic questions before the tour, or are we gonna have to
Yes.
reassemble?
Yes, I was going to go to that next, Mark. Okay. Any other questions on this issue? All right, Tigini and Rob, thank you very much. Okay.
Mayor, I have a question on
Sam?
The council yesterday passed a measure that would essentially go after people in Maryland and Virginia who owe money to the district. I think it's, or owed it somewhere between 150 and $200 million. There was some opposition, people saying they didn't think they could do it, but it did pass. Well, did you sign it? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I think anything, anything that's going to give us access to dollars that are owed to the District of Columbia, Sam, is something that I'm going to support. I have not read the bill thoroughly. I've had a brief conversation with Councilmember Che about this. I was at a presentation with her in Ward 3 last week where she talked in broad terms about it. But I think as a general proposition, anything that's going to give us increased access to collect money owed to the city is certainly something that I will support. Obviously, we can use the money. Mark.
Mayor Gray, Washington Post today writes about, I think they use the term shadow government, about government officials in your cabinet who are using private email accounts to do government business so as to avoid freedom of information requests from the public and the press. Do you have a private email account that you use for government business, and what is your administration's policy on this?
Well, first of all, I do have a private email account, but it's for my private business. I imagine if I were conducting public business, conducting private business over my public account, that would be completely inappropriate. So I do keep a separate account, but I don't use it to conduct public business. It's not for that purpose at all. I do not support any officials doing that. If we identify who they are, and I don't know who they are, it's the first I've heard of anybody doing that. If we identify who they are, then there will be a discussion with them about that, because it's not appropriate.
Should those emails, will your policy be then that if the press or the public requests access to those emails, that you'll release those emails even though they're on private accounts?
We haven't even had a discussion about the policy, Mark. Give us a chance to get into this, because this is something, frankly, relatively new to me. As I said, I don't do it myself.
Do you know of anyone else? I mean, they seem to have examples of people in the Post today that was related at a court hearing in a lawsuit against the city where this came out. And it seems like this is somewhat, I don't want to use common practice, but it seems to be happening in your administration.
Well, I don't know that it's happening in my administration. I certainly don't do it. I don't know of anybody who's in our senior staff or cabinet that does it. And if someone has names of people who are doing it, I'd appreciate receiving it. Yeah, are you sure it's our administration? Because I thought there were issues raised about the CFO. Is that right?
Independent office.
Yes, that's not part of the administration. I don't have authority over the CFO. They were congressionally empowered to operate. The CFO is independent of the.
I appreciate that. But so have you ever, or anyone in your staff, received emails from the CFO's office on private emails?
I have not. On my private email?
Or to your government email?
You know what? Actually, I have received very few emails from the CFO at all. I don't know. I won't make a value statement about that. However, Dr. Gandhi and I talk quite frequently, as we did when I was on the council, when I was a council chair, and now as mayor. So I don't want to suggest that there's not good communication, because there really is good communication between the CFO and our administration, certainly me. But let me make it abundantly clear again that the CFO is independent of our administration, and we don't have any authority over how they operate. They are, congressionally created, congressionally empowered.
Mr. Mayor, could you talk about the ethics vote that was given tentative approval by the council yesterday? Where it is you're asking that the final vote be delayed until after the holidays? What's the reason for that?
The only reason, Bruce, is so we clearly understand what it is that we're moving forward with. I think at the markup they added 51 pages of additional amendments, text. There were sections of law that were brought from other parts of the code into this. I think there were amendments that were adopted yesterday. So it has nothing to do with supporting it, because I have indicated, I sent a letter earlier with a set of principles that I support. It's just making sure that we fully understand what's been adopted, because obviously, very soon after its adoption by the council, it will be before me for approval. And it's so much easier. If something needs to be addressed, clarified, or changed, it would be so much easier to do that before second reading than afterwards, because the process changes after it's adopted by the council.
Brown indicated that he didn't see the need to wait until after the holidays, that he wants to go in 2 weeks on quiet vote. Are you okay with that? And is there anything in the bill, as you understand it now, that you object to? Or anything that's not in there that you think should be?
That's part of the issue, and that is being able to know exactly what we do have in the bill at this stage, Bruce. So it's not so much that I objected to Chairman Brown's position on this, it's simply wanting to be able to understand fully what is in this bill, what the implications are, obviously for a couple of reasons, because we're very much an inherent part of the government, and secondly, as with any bill, I'll be asked to sign this bill at a point, and I'd like to be able to be in concert with the council as we move forward.
You're gonna be able to do this, I mean, speed up your process before the holidays? Because like it's-
Well, you know, if they're going to do this, we'll have to. I just wish we had a few more days to be able to look at it, to be absolutely sure what's in there, what the implications are of those things. We'll work hard to try to conform to a timetable that the council appears to be on, and if there are questions, we'll raise those questions, and I'm assuming this next meeting will be on December 20th. We'll try to raise those questions with the council before the second reading and the second vote. Patrick?
Just a quick follow. If there are significant changes from the bill that was passed yesterday and the bill that will, be there for the second reading, would you suggest that they actually hold one more hearing after that?
Not necessarily. You know, we have had, when I was chairman of the council, we had bills that were markedly changed, and there were times when people said we ought to have a third reading on this bill. I don't necessarily support that approach, because even when there are fairly significant changes, they can be communicated to the legislators so they fully are clear what those changes are likely to be, as well as to the public. There is always the opportunity for a third reading, but it isn't often used, Patrick. Ms. Brazil?
I had two questions. One, I'd like to follow up on the issue that Mark raised. I am personally aware of the fact that in the times we find ourselves in with these swirling investigations underway, that numerous people in DC government have been using their private email accounts and indeed have acquired burn phones. They have secondary phones, not DC government issued phones.
What kind of phone?
They're phones you go and buy at Target or Walmart that you know, for transitory,
I hope they won't buy any at Walmart until we have them in the city.
Well, not making light of this, because I think it's a very serious issue. They have been using them, and they have been using them to conduct DC government business. My question to you, will you direct your city administrator to instruct all DC government employees and senior officials that it is frankly against DC law for these officials to be using non-DC government issued phones and be using private accounts for their emails in the intended purpose of circumventing the FOIA laws in the District of Columbia? Will you direct your city administrator to make an inquiry?
Will you give me the names of the people who you say you know use these phones? I'll do that. That'll be the first thing I do. Would you give me those names?
No.
Why?
Because you should know already.
Why should I know?
Because they're going around the Wilson building bragging about it. Don't call me on this number, call me on my burn phone.
We'll turn them in.
It's not my job, it's your job. And you
Well, I think you are involved in the exchange of information, Ms. Brazil, and the processing of information, and it would be helpful to know. Let me go back to where I said we haven't addressed the policy on this. We will address the policy on this. So I'm not going to direct anybody to do anything until we're absolutely clear what path we're on.
direct your city administrator to make an inquiry?
Well, an inquiry is different.
I asked you if you would ask your city administrator to
Ms.
make an
Brazil,
inquiry.
we're going to look at the entire. We're going
People not to do this.
to look at the policy implications of all of this, and we will address it as we do other things.
No policy implications against DC law.
One more question,
Mayor Gray?
Mark.
Well, in reading the Post account here, it says that Mr. Gandhi confirmed he sent and received government information and correspondence by a private email account occasionally, and he acknowledged sending such emails to council members, former Mayor Fenty and Mayor Vincent C. Gray and Gray advisor Lorraine Green. So here's Dr. Gandhi testifying, confirming that he has sent you emails on a private email account.
I don't recall getting any emails from Dr. Gandhi on a private email account, and I'll be happy if he can give me the dates, the hard copies of them. That's easily accessible information.
Have you spoken to Councilmember Thomas since the raid on his home, and if so, what advice or opinion have you given about his role on the council?
No, I haven't. I saw him in the hall. That was the extent of it. I have not had a conversation with him.
Do you have an opinion on what he should do?
No, I think this is something, I think that the justice process ought to move along quickly and settle this, settle the investigation, and then the path forward will be clear.
We talked about the streetcar meeting last night, and some residents were upset with a proposal from DDOT to extend it through the neighborhoods. I know you tried to cool their anger last night. Where does this stand? Because they're saying that...
I was very clear last night, Mark, and that is I don't support taking it down 3rd Street or 2nd Street. And I cited, you know, my own personal experience. I happen to have grown up in that neighborhood, and the street that they were proposing, 3rd Street at 3rd and G, I happen to have gone to elementary school there 432 years ago. And so I'm very familiar with that street, and its configuration hasn't changed in all of these years. And so my position was quite clear, and that is we would go out 8th Street. It would, at least in this first stage, it would have its terminal point on the western end on the Hopscotch Bridge, that people who want to have access to Union Station can then walk into Union Station, because the last stop in this first stage will be right across from the entrance to the garage to Union Station. But I was very clear, we're not going to have the streetcar going down 3rd Street, 2nd Street, or through those neighborhoods.
Apparently DDOT said that even though if they didn't have the route going down there, they would need to have what they call some kind of emergency access in order to do an emergency turnaround, which would still need the wires and the tracks going down.
There's no intent to put any tracks down on 3rd Street. Thank you all very much.